Hello and welcome to a beautifully sunny Nice, Côte d'Azur Airport, where we're on stand for another video in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And this is going to be part one of a three-part series, and today we'll be setting up from cold and dark through to taxi in the brand new Fenix Simulations A321. I say brand new, it's actually been out for a week now, and I just wanted to spend a little bit more time learning the plane so I can fully demonstrate the depth of systems for you guys. And I've got to say, I am so impressed. It's right up there with the best aircraft in the sim, and it also doesn't matter whether you're flying the A319, 320 or 321. This guide applies to all three. And for a bit of added context, I've actually only recently made the transition from Xbox to PC, and I've never owned the Fenix before, so I have gone all in and purchased all three variants as they're on a bit of a special offer at the moment. I think I paid $79.99, which is an absolute bargain. Right then, so the aircraft is completely shut down, cold and dark, and first of all we need to go overhead and get it powered up. So we'll put the external power on first, and then we want to switch batteries 1 and 2 on in the centre here. There we go, and moving across to the left hand panel we want to align our IRS switches to nav, so all three switches, and then moving down we can switch on our crew oxygen supply. And we're going to now pop some lights on, so we can put our nav and logo lights on. And I'm going to leave the seatbelt signs off for now till fueling is complete, but we will switch our no smoking signs on. And we'll arm our emergency exit lights and pop our standby compass on. There we go. So moving up then, our PAX 1 and PAX 2 are on showing fault, that's fine. And the same with our Gen 1 and Gen 2. And our fuel pumps can stay off now until we've completed fueling. We don't want to switch those on whilst the fuel is going on board. Okay, so all our systems are coming alive as we can see. So next we're going to go down to the EFB and click on the Fenix icon there. And we're going to import our flight plan from SimBrief, and we'll just dismiss that. So there we go, we've planned a flight from here in Nice up to Frankfurt in Germany. So that's all fine. Across to the next tab, it's our ground services. Just double check that our GPU and chocks are set. And then we're going to come across to the mass and balance, and that just shows our planned passengers, cargo and fuel as well. So if we're happy with all those figures, we can hit load. And we're going to use GSX for this. It's all integrated, so click on GSX. And that will automatically request our ground services for boarding and refueling. There we go. Okay then, here comes our jetway, and I don't know about you, but I always get serious Star Wars 8080 vibes from these things. Maybe that's just me. Thankfully this one looks like he's just going to load us with passengers, so that's all fine. Another really cool feature of GSX is once we've imported our SimBrief flight plan, it puts all the information up onto the docking guidance system there. So if we have a look at that for a minute, there's our flight number, estimated time of departure. It gives us our departure runway along with our SID as well. And it also tells us how many passengers, fuel and cargo we're going to have. So it's all handy information to have in front of you. Okay, so now's a good time to hop outside and take a look how our refueling truck is getting along. If we just pan around to the other side of the aircraft, there we go, there's our fueling truck. He's just going about his daily business, getting us refueled for our departure. I do love all the different ground handling vehicles as well you get in GSX, and depending on where you are in the world, they're run by different operators, so it's really cool. Right, so it's about time to start planning for our flight then. So if we go down to the MCDU and click on the FMGC button there, and we're going to hit the init button, and then we're going to hit init request at the top right there, and that should import our flight plan from SimBrief. And there we go, that's all loaded in. We just need to enter our flight number. So if we go to the tablet and if we go to our flight plan, we can see our flight number is there, DLH107. So we'll add that in, DLH107. We've got a cost index of 56. Our cruise altitude was flight level 360. So we'll add that in as well. There we go, and at this point we can also request our wind data for our climb. So we hit the wind request button, and that should load in the forecast. And there we go. Okay, so we can clear that message there and return to our init page. And if we press the right arrow, that brings up our init B page, which we now need to populate with our weights. So back on the flight plan, we've got an estimated zero fuel weight of 67.2 tonnes. So we'll add in 67.2 for our zero fuel weight. There we go. Our block fuel is 8.3, so we will add 8.3 into the block fuel, and that will just calculate the rest of the figures. We'll just tweak the alternate and fin res. So we've got 1.8 and 1.3 if we round up. So we'll add in 1.8 tonnes for our alternate. There we go, and 1.3 for our final. Okay, so that is our init B page complete for now. Moving on. Now let's hit the perf button and concentrate on our takeoff performance then. So back over to the EFB, press the home button, and we're going to click on the icon that says departure performance, and we can start populating this with our runway. So we're on 04 left, that's fine, the conditions are dry, and we can sync our load sheet, and we're just going to leave everything on optimum for our aircraft configuration. That all looks fine, and then we can sync our current weather, and then we hit the orange button and that will calculate all our day for takeoff. So there we go, we've got a V1 145, rotate 149 and V2 159. We've got a flaps of 2 and trim up 1.3, and we've got a flex temp of 57 degrees. Okay, so once we're happy with all that, we can hit the send to MCDU button, and if we take a look down at the MCDU, we can see that all that data has been transferred into the box. So we've got our V speeds, transition altitude, and our flaps and trim settings along with our flex temp. So that's all looking good. Okay, so let's start thinking about briefing our departure then. So we'll click the Navigraph icon, and we'll also click on our departure airport, and then we're going to go down to our departure charts, which is just there, and we're looking for the Irma 7 Alpha chart for our SID today, which is there. So we'll just favourite that, and we'll also put it into daylight so we can see what we're doing. And if we just zoom in, we can see our position on the chart there with a little blue arrow. So we're departing 04 left on a course of 43 degrees, turning right to Mike November 047, turning right 209 degrees out to Mike November 064, where we need to be at 5,500. Turning right 306 degrees to Orcac, where we need to be max 210 knots and above flight level 70. Then we're out all the way to Barzo. So it's a fairly straightforward departure. And we know our transition altitude is 5,000 feet, so our initial climb clearance is 13,000 feet. Let's just check any other constraints. So yeah, we've got no flight over the coastline below 6,000. So I think I'll set 7,000 feet in the window. We know we've got to be at or above 7,000 at Orcac, so we'll continue our climb to flight level 130 from there. So let's pop 7,000 in the window then. There we go. And we just need to make sure our flight directors are both on, so we'll just recycle those on both the first officers and pilot side. I'm going to click the constraints button so that all our constraints appear on the nav display, and I'll also switch both VORs on. And finally, we just need to set our QNH. So if we come back to our home button, and if I go to my flights, we can click on the live METAR for Nice, and we can see we've got QNH 1016. So we will set that on both our standby instruments. We'll do that one first. So 1016, there we go. And then 1016 on the pilot side, set. And we'll also do it on the first officer's side, so everything matches, 1016, and then we can press the most satisfying button in Flight Sim, uncage that bad boy. Oh yeah. Yep, that does it for me. Okay, so we are making good progress here. Let's start planning for our departure on the MCDU. Let's hit the flight plan button, and then Nice, top left, departures, and we're departing on 04 left on the Irma 7 Alpha SID. So click that and then insert, and we can just clear those couple of messages. It's telling us the IRS is aligned, so that's all fine. and that's our departure information added as well. So let's take a look how our fueling is going outside, and bang on cue, it looks like they are just about done. So they'll be clearing out the way very shortly, and the bags will start to go on. So now fueling is completed, we will turn our seatbelt signs on to let the passengers know it's safe to buckle up, and we will also turn all our fuel pumps on. So there we go. And just while we wait for the cargo loaders and the baggage to arrive, we'll finish setting up a few other bits and pieces in the flight deck. So we can set our squawk, which we will set to 2000, so we'll just clear that one out, and 2000 is set. There we go. And we'll set our flaps and ground spoilers for takeoff shortly. Our rudder trim is all set. We'll put the predictive wind shear on, and GCS can also go on. And everything else on the pedestal is all looking pretty good, so I am happy with that. Okay then, let's hop outside again, and we can see now our baggage carts have started to arrive. So our ground crew are going to start loading those on board. Here they come. And he's just going to pull up in front of the conveyor so our baggage handler can start loading everything on. Come on lads, we haven't got long now. We need to get this turned around quick. Very good. On they go. Right, so let's take a bit of a closer look at our VDGS so we can monitor our boarding and cargo. You'll get a scrolling message shortly just telling us a bit of an update, so we'll just wait for that. So there we go, passengers 158 of 189 and cargo was 50%, so we can just see as well in the corner of our window the last of our passengers loading on, so it shouldn't be too much longer now. And there we go, that little bong lets us know boarding is complete, and there we go, aircraft loaded, so we can dismiss that. So yeah, that's all loaded up as per our mass and balance, so that's all good. If we come back to Navigraph as well, I will zoom in on our stand because we're going to get ready for pushback and departure shortly. We'll just have a little look at our taxi route. So there we are on stand 48 Charlie, and we're going to taxi all the way out on uniform to our hold point for runway 04 left. Right, so we're about set for pushback. Let's get the APU on. So APU master switch on, leave it for a couple of seconds, and then we will hit the start button, and we will also put our beacon lights on at this point. And if we just hop down to our lower ECAM, we can monitor our APU. We can see the EGT is just rising there, and also the N number is going up, and we're waiting for a green available on the screen there so we can put the APU bleed on. So we'll just wait a couple of seconds, and there we go, so the APU is now available. So if we go back overhead, we'll switch our APU bleed on, which is that button there, and we can also now switch our external power off, so we'll switch that off there. Back down to the EFB, and if we go to our ground services, we can now release our chocks and also the ground power unit. So we are getting there. So GSX menu open then, and we are going to request pushback and departure. And here comes our friendly French dispatcher as the jetway is released, and he's got our ground pin.
Hello Captain, we are ready for pushback.
I do love the way everyone's accents relative to where we are in the world. That's another great feature of GSX.
Departure check completed, bypass pin inserted.
So he's inserted the bypass pin into our nose wheel gear, so the tug can come and attach now. Here he comes. Interesting line he's taken here. Okay, going backwards. And you're going to need to jump any second, mate. Hup. Get your ankles. Jesus. That's one way of doing it, I suppose.
Locking gear.
Okay, gear is locked. Right, so we need to select our pushback direction, so we're going to go with facing south.
Release parking brakes.
And parking brake released.
Commencing push. All engines clear, start at will.
Okay, so ignition mode to start and engine 2 fuel lever on. And we can just see engine 2 starting to spool up now as we commence our pushback. And that's looking and sounding pretty good. And this is a pretty good look at GSX in full swing. We've got our wing walker, pushback tug. Love it. Okay, we should have a pretty good start on engine 2 now. We're just waiting for the power to transfer over to the Gen 2 bus, which shouldn't take long. There we go, so that is a good engine start. So we can repeat the process for engine 1. So engine 1 fuel lever on. And I'll just shut up for a couple of seconds so you can really hear those IAE engines spooling up. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there for today, guys. That concludes part 1 of my series on the new Fenix A321. I hope you enjoyed that. Be sure to stick around for part 2 where we'll continue with our taxi, departure and climb. I hope you found today useful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you in part 2. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.